Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Mem Vav and Aleph, 7 lines from the bottom. The Gemara continues its discussion in regards to the machlokes between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda in Muktzah. Rabbi Yehuda, of course, is the more machmir opinion, whereas Rabbi Shimon is more mekil. And here the Gemara continues to discuss the shraga, the oil lamp, whether it can be moved on Shabbos or not. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, shraga, the mishcha shari l'tiltula, the nafta aser l'tiltula. Rabbi Yehuda, not Rabbi Yehuda, but Rabbi Yehuda, he says that a shraga, of the opinion in Shitas Rabbi Shimon's, that a shraga, a oil lamp, can be moved, even though indeed he holds of muktzum machmas mius. Over here, since over here it's not mos, if indeed it's a shraga de mishcha, it's muter l'tiltula after it goes out. But the nafta, the neft, that's aser l'tiltula, because the neft has a tremendously bad smell and it's repugnant. The Gemara in Yuma Daf Lamed Tes Lamed Aleph tells us that a person wants to buy neft. Then it says over there, a person wants to buy the neft, he's told, you measure out the neft yourself because it's too repugnant for me to measure out. So there, even Rabbi Shimon agrees, here it's muktzum machmas mius. Rabbo Rav Yosef Damer Travayihu de nafto nami shar l'til tula. Rabbo and Rav Yosef say that no, that even not like Rav Yehuda suggests in Rabbi Shimon, but says over here that it is mutter l'taltil, even though again there is a repugnant smell from the neft. The Gemara will explain Be'ez Hashem shortly what is the shita over here. Rav Avya ikloi lebe Rava have ma'isin bekorei batina. Rav Avya went to the house of Rava and he had mud on his shoes. Shoes were dirty. Ative apuria kamei de Rava. He put those feet that were dirty and he put them on the bed that he was sitting on before Rava. In other words, he was soloing the bed. Ikbar Rava boy litziure. Rava was upset and he wanted to then mitzar him with the following question. Omalei, Rava said to him, he posed the following question. My time of Rabbi Rav Yosef, Da'amri Travayu, Shraga de nafta nami shori l'tiltule. Why is it that Rabbi Rav Yosef say that a neft that was used for fuel of the lamp, that lamp can now be moved? Why is that mutter? Isn't it repugnant? Isn't mos? Omar le, Rav Avya answered back, it may not be able to be used to put things in, to store things into the lamp. That might be true. However, it can be used to cover up a kli, and therefore has a useful activity, and it's not muktzah, according to Rabbi Shimon. Elameyato kol tzroro shebechotim etalpulin hoy v'chaz lekisui b'hu mana. Rava then says back to him, if that's so, then a person, if he wants to take a stone, which is certainly muktzah machmas gufoy, you can't go ahead and take that stone just to cover up a mana, a kli. Omalei, Rav Avya said back to Rava, ha'ike taras kli alel, hani leka taras kli aleihen. Rav Avya explains the chiluk. He says when it comes to this shraga, there it still has the shem kli. And therefore, to use it as another purpose to cover up a kli, that's certainly going to be permissible. Whereas a rock never had a shem kli, it was muktzah machmas gufo. Milotanya, don't we find the following, says Rav Avya to support himself. It says in the Brisa, Hasherim vaha nizomim vaha tabos, harein kekol hakelim hanitolim b'chotzer. Here, the Brisa is speaking about various different types of jewelry that one is prohibited to wear in the Rishus Harabim. The Chazal saw that if a person is going to wear their jewelry in the Rishus Harabim, then those women will now take off the bracelets, the sherim, the nizamim, the nose rings, the tabos, the regular rings, they'll take them out to show their friends. And then they'll carry on Shabbos in Isser D'Oraisa. So therefore, they prohibited to wear those things in the Rosh Hashanah. And some say it's even prohibited to wear in the Chatzar, but this opinion says, you could metaltel these jewelries in the Chatzar. You can't go out in the Rosh Hashanah, but in the Chatzar you can metaltel. So we see over here why. Because they have a taras kli, although they can't be used to go ahead and be worn, but they can be used for some other purpose, a secondary purpose, and therefore you can go ahead and carry them in the Chatzar. Since indeed these also have a taras kli alel, this ner, although it's used with neft, has a taras kli, and therefore can be used to then cover up another kli, and therefore it's not muktzah. Says the Gemara, Rav Nachum bar Yitzchok, Brich Rachmona de lo Kesife Rava l'Rav Avia. Great, he says, blessed is the merciful one, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who did not allow a Rav Avia to become embarrassed through Rava's question. Says the Gemara weiter, Rami lo Abayi le Rabba. Abayi asked the following contradiction to Rabba. Tanya, it says in one brisa, Moisar Hashemin shebaner v'shebeka'ara osir. The leftovers of the shemen from a lamp and from a bowl are osir, according to Tanakama. Rabbi Shimon Matir. Rabbi Shimon says, so long as the light was extinguished, you can go ahead and use that oil. Because again, he holds that we don't say migudi iskatsoy. Alma Rabbi Shimon lesle muktzah. Obviously, Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold a muktzah in this manner. Vraminhu, and yet we have another brisa. It says, Rabbi Shimon oimer, kol she'ein mumoy nikar me'erev yontif, ein ze min hamuchan. If there's an animal, a bechor has to be brought as a korban. But if it gets a mum, so it's no longer fitting to get to become a korban. However, the mum has to be a mum kavua. It's going to be a mum that's going to remain. It's not going to be a mum that's oiver, that will become healed. But it's a mum kavua that cannot be healed. Extreme situation would be, let's say, the animal loses a limb. Al kopanim, it cannot be used, therefore, as a korban. So it says over here, in this brisa, that in regards to a behema that's a bachor, again, Rabbi Shimon Omer, kol she'ein mumon nikar me'erev yantif, ein ze min hamuchan. If it was not recognized as a mum kavua before Yontif, it cannot be shechted on Yontif. It's considered to be muktzah. So you see that Rabbi Shimon does hold a muktzah. Says the Gemara, what kind of comparison is this? Hochi hashta. Hasam odam yoshev mitzapa. E mosai ticha ben neiroi. Hocha odam yoshev mitzapa mosai yipo b'mum. When it comes to the ner, a person can anticipate that indeed when the ner is extinguished, when it goes out, there'll still be some oil left over. And therefore he'll use the oil that's left over. But over here, does a person think that an animal who looks to be healthy and robust is going to then have a mum kavua? Who's going to suggest such a thing? And therefore it's considered to be muktzah, even called Rabbi Shimon. As follows, Meimar Omar, he says to himself the following, Miyema de nafo be'muma. Who says that it's going to, first of all, fall a mum on this behemoth? And even on the tzad that it does get a mum before Yom Tif, or on Yom Tif rather, who says that the mum that it will get will be this type of mum of kavua? And even if you want to suggest that it does fall and get hurt and gain a mum kavua, but who's to say that you'll find a chacham to determine that indeed it's a mum kavua? So with all of these factors involved, it's going to be not muchan, it's going to be muktzah. Mosi Rami Bar Chamo. Rabbi Chama asked the following question. Meifiri nidarim b'Shabbos. It says in regards to a woman who takes a neder on Shabbos, her father or her husband, if she is married and she's not still in the home of her father, her husband can be mefer a neder. L'tzorech HaShabbos. On Shabbos, it's a neder that's for Shabbos. She says, I'm not going to eat on Shabbos. She takes a neder that she's not going to eat on Shabbos. So it says over here that her husband can be mefer the neder and she can go in and eat on Shabbos. Why? Why is that not muktzah? She made a neder she will not eat on Shabbos, and it's going to be completely totally on whether her husband is going to mefer annul the neder. So it should be considered to be muktzah. V'amai asked the Gemara, Lema miyema demizdakid leibal. Let us say that who says that the husband is going to then become aware of her neder and going to actually mefer the neder? So therefore it should be muktzah. Similarly over here, we're saying, right, the same way that we said over here, right, that who says that a chacham is going to go ahead and find the mum to be a mum kavua? So why over here do we say it's mutter? The Gemara challenges, no, hasam kidirav pinchos mishmei derova. Over there, in regards to the woman, it's different than the case of the mum of the bechor, because the omar pinchos mishmei derova kol anoideres al das baila hi noideres. When a woman makes a neder, she does so with the intention that her husband will find out about it, and it's possible that he will then be made for the neder. So here, it wasn't off limits entirely. She took the neder, but she understood that it's only going to be completely totally on her husband who finds out about the neder, and very well may fear the neder. So it's different in the case of the mum, kavua of the bachar. The Gemara further asks from the Seifa of this brisa, Toshma nishalim nidorim shel tzorech hashabbos b'Shabbos. You can go ahead and be matir a neder that one made on Shabbos for Shabbos. Again, similarly, he takes a neder, he's not going to eat on Shabbos. And it says over here, you can go ahead and have a chacham to be matir the neder. Why? Why did you say that it's going to be off limits? It's muktzah. Who says that you're going to then find a chacham to determine that it's a neder that he finds an opening and he can release you from this neder? Answers the Gemara, no. Hasam iloi mizdakek lechacham sagile begimel hedyotis. And it comes to being matir a neder. If you cannot find a chacham to be matir the neder, then there's another option. You can get 3 hedyotos, sit them down, explain the neder, and they'll say muter lach, muter lach, muter lach. So therefore, it's not going to be something that's out of one's thoughts and set aside as not being a possibility of being matir the neder. And therefore the food could be eaten on Shabbos in this example. But over here, in the case of the Bechor, but over here, who says you're going to find a chacham? And only a chacham can determine that it's going to be a mum kavua. Says the Gemara, Vaiter, Rami le Abaye le Rav Yosef. Abaye asked the following contradiction to Rav Yosef. Mi Omar Rabbi Shimon kovso muter letaltala. Do we see that Rabbi Shimon holds that when it's indeed a ner that became extinguished, that it's muter letaltala? Kavsa'in lo kavsa'lo. Only because the ner became extinguished can you go ahead and move the ner. But while it's still lit, you cannot move the ner. My timer, what's the reason why Rabbi Shimon would say that you cannot move the ner while the ner is still lit? Because maybe while he's moving it, he will cause it to become extinguished. Behold, we hear that Rabbi Shimon said that Davar Shem Miskam is mutter. And that would be a contradiction to this, because here it implies that he would hold it's osir. The Tanya, like it says in the following brisa, that we know that Rabbi Shimon holds that Davar Shem Miskam is mutter. Rabbi Shimon oimer goyrer adam kisei mita v'safsal. If a person drags a chair, a bench, or a bed, and he doesn't have kavanah to make a choritz, a trench, we say over there, Shimon holds that that's okay, because his kavanah was not to make the trench when he dragged, let's say, the bench across the field. And therefore, that's going to make a malacha of digging into the ground of charisha, but here he didn't have kavanah, and therefore Davar Shem's kavan is mutter. So how could it be that we're saying that Rabbi Shimon is concerned about moving a ner while it's lit because it might go out. Hooray! Rabbi Shimon ascribes the opinion davar she'ein miskaven is mutter. Answers the Gemara, Kol hechet dehachi dechi mechaven ika isura diaraisa. Kilo mechaven gozer Rabbi Shimon d'Rabban. The Gemara wants to make the following chiluk. When does Rabbi Shimon say that it's mutter for davar she'ein miskaven? That if you had kavana for it, it would only be an iser d'Rabbanan. But if you had kavana for something and it would be an iser d'Oraisa, then he doesn't say it's mutter, he says it's osir. And the case over here of dragging the bench, since making the charitz would be considered to be an abnormal, a shinui of actually digging in the ground. When a person digs, he usually digs with a shovel. He doesn't dig by taking a bench and dragging it. So this would be considered to be a shinui, kol achar yad, whereby it would be in iser d'Rabbanan. So here Rabbi Shimon says it's mutter. But in the case of the ner, that the ner should go out, that would be considered to be an iser d'Oraisa if he was mechavin for that. We'll assume that he needed, let's say, the charcoal of the psila, so there would be a davar she'ein miskaven, and it would be indeed an iser d'Oraisa if he had kavana. So that's the chiluk that Gemara wants to make. So once again, the Gemara is suggesting the chiluk as follows: that when does Rabbi Shimon say that it's mutter to do a davar she'ein miskaven? When if he would have kavana, it would be an iser d'Rabbanan. So then, if he does not have kavana, it's mutter lechatchila. But if it would be an iser d'Oraisa had he had kavana, then when he doesn't have kavana, it would be an iser d'Rabbanan. And therefore, the case of the safsel, dragging the safsel across, that would be a davar she'ein miskaven, in something that would only be d'Rabbanan, therefore he says it's mutter. Whereas over here in the ner, if you would then carry the ner and it cause it to be extinguished, had he had kavana, it would be iser d'Oraisa. When he doesn't have kavana, it should be iser d'Rabbanan. On that, the Gemara challenges, is this truly a chiluk? Mosiv Rava asks from the following brisa, from the following Mishnah rather, Moichrei kesus, Moichrin kedarkon, ubilvash eliskavin becham b'nei acham u'b'gesham b'nei achasham. Here this Mishnah is talking about, we saw this Mishnah once before, that the Mishnah says that the person, he wants to go ahead and sell wares, he wants to sell fabric clothing, and the clothing has shatnez, a mixture of wool and linen together. So it says that he can wear those clothes in order to advertise the clothing, so long as he's not wearing them for the heat or to get then shelter from the rain. In other words, he's not getting personal benefit from it directly from wearing the shatnez. However, the Mishnah continues on. V'hatznuin mafshilim b'makel la'acharein. The tznuin, the modest ones, they would put the clothing behind them, let's say, on a mannequin, in order to avoid people maybe speaking derogatory about them, that maybe people are wearing shatnez. So they were more careful. But anyways, you see from this Mishnah, you see clearly if a person were to wear the shatnez and he would have kavana for wearing the shatnez, then he would be over an iser d'Oraisa. And nonetheless, over here, it says that he can go ahead and wear them to advertise the clothing, so long as he's not wearing them in order to avoid the elements of the heat or the rain. So here you clearly have a refutation on the Gemara's chiluk before, that Rabbi Shimon does not make a distinction whether the act would be a iser d'Oraisa or an iser d'Rabbanan if he had kavana. Rather, Rabbi Shimon says always is the davar she'ein miskaven is going to be mutter. Elamar Rava. Rather, Rava says, Hanoch lener shemen upsila. Leave the fact that a ner, shemen and psila, is going to be muktzah, not because, like we said before, the reason why it's osir, like Rabbi Shimon says, to carry it while it's lit is because it's going to cause the ner to go out, but because of an issue of muktzah. Hoyo denase basis ledavar ha'osir. Rather, because the ner is going to be then a basis ledavar ha'osir. It has a shalhevis. Since the light, the ner, is lit, it needs the psila, and it needs the oil, and it needs the basis of the kli itself, all to then be a basis for the davar ha'asr. So while it's still lit, it can't be moved because you're then moving muktzah. Even Rabbi Shimon agrees to that while it's still lit. It's a basis. Whereas once the ner goes out, it no longer then remains a basis, and then you can move the ner.